Welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast that's all about real conversations for real transformation. I'm your host, Kat Polsinelli, professional speaker, MC, and best-selling international author. Here, we tackle the tough stuff, the mud that we all have found ourselves in. We talk about the pivots, the challenges, and the victories that shape our lives and our businesses. From overcoming trauma and finding your voice to navigating life's unexpected twists, we get raw, honest, and open. You'll hear from inspiring guests who share their stories of resilience, healing, and growth. Whether it's breaking through emotional abuse, embracing self-worth, or thriving in entrepreneurship, you'll find connection, empowerment, and the tools to keep you moving forward. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for stories that hit home and conversations that make a difference. Let's get real together. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I'm so excited to have you here with me today, and we're gonna have some fun. I feel like I've had the best conversations that are going into like this fourth quarter, so like watch out 2026. Like all of my listeners are gonna be like so set up on all the different levels. I have an amazing person to share with you guys today, and boy, does he have some wonderful insights into biohacking and longevity as he talks about. So, Andy, thank you so much for joining the podcast today.
I'm so honored to be on your show, Kat.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so excited to have this conversation. I know you and I have had quite a few off the screen anyway, and we always end up going over just having conversations. And so I want to do everyone a favor as we get started. I wanted to let you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what it is that you do.
Wow, okay, that's a first. I usually wait for someone to introduce my bio, and it's always way better than I think myself is. But yeah, my journey started probably about 13 years ago, where I am doing what I'm doing now. Actually, it probably started about 40 years ago. But basically, what happened was I had a very bad car accident back when I was in high school, graduating year. And that car accident fractured my back. It, broke a lot of bones and stuff like that. But, being 18 and everything, you think that you can be able to bounce back. But over the years, those fractures, those breaks and stuff just got worse and worse. And, when I saw my doctor, my bone doctor back in 21, my physiotherapist and everything, they told me by the time you hit your 30s, you're gonna have a body of a 70-year-old. Right.
Wow.
So imagine hearing that when you're 21, thinking, wow, you're on top of the world. And I got nine
Yeah.
years later, I'm going to have a body of a 70-year-old. Right. So, you know, things weren't going well in university. I dropped out of university after the second year. And I said, well, if I only got 9 years, I'm going to choose something I really love and pursue it and make stupid amounts of money. At least that's my 21-year-old self told myself. Right. So of course, I chose something I love, and my passion was always fast cars, right? I'm a car guy, typical guy. But I put together a car modification shop, and sure enough, in those 9 years, the company did all right. But I was working long hours because I thought I need to be
Mm,
working longer hours to be successful. And I sold that business when I was 30 because and then moved to US. I was in Canada. But sure enough, by the time I hit 30s, I started had a lot of back pain. I was on prescription medication just to get out of bed. I started having a lot of brain fog. I was angry all the time. And through the 30s, things just got worse and worse. I saw a lot more specialists, and it just became more and more medication.
mm,
And by the time I hit 40, it got to the point it was so bad. I was thinking, well, how's this going to be in the next, 3, 5, 10 years, right? Because
yeah.
uh, the car accident I had when I was 18, I was actually driving to my girlfriend's house. And of course, my girlfriend, it's Minna, she stuck with me after her accident. She became my wife. So, like, when we hit 40, like I've been with her for like, like, I'm doing the math, like over 22 years already. And at that point, she was already taking care of me a lot. Like she's doing most of the house chores, she's doing all the cooking and everything. And being a dude and our ego is like, man, this isn't right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I foresee, we should be taking care, we should be doing at least equal duties, right? And that's when I started asking all, my specialists, the doctors, my bone specialists, and everything. And they said, Andy, you're doing pretty good. Like it could get much worse. And at that point, I said, I'm done. There's got to be a better way. And I gave up my automotive businesses because I had a few. And I said, look, I'm just going to change a different tradition, trajectory and try to figure things out myself. And I got to tell you, even back when 13, 14 years ago, there was a lot of information on the internet, right? It's like, who do you follow, right? There's just
Yep.
so much information.
So
This
much.
is so good. This is so good. And
Yep.
you get lost into it, right? You need to exercise, you need to eat right. But what is eating right? You got all these different diets. And it got so confusing. And I was just getting frustrated. And, of course, my body was getting worse and worse. I can barely get out of bed. And, in my 30s, I bought a sports car, a Lotus Elise. And
Oh.
that was a promise to Minna when we were going out that that's what, I was going to get her a Lotus to fill my love for her. And sure enough, in when I was 35, we bought one. But over those 8 years that we had the car from 35 to 43, I couldn't even sit anymore. Like, I can get in, but I can't get out.
Yeah.
Right. And it was so embarrassing because, Minna has a baby face. Already people think that I'm dating someone that's already 10 years older, younger than me. And then imagine pulling up to a nice restaurant or something. She gets out, and here I am. I'm struggling to climb out of the car. And it was so embarrassing that Minna says, we just need to sell the car, right? Because we're not driving it. It's a waste of money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And, sure enough, the person I sold the car to was this young kid. I think he was 24, 25 during the time. And I was looking at him, we're in San Francisco. He's a Vietnamese kid. And we're meeting at Starbucks because he told me he was a kid looking to buy a nice car. And I thought I was going to get carjacked and everything. Right. So, this kid comes up all suited up, right? I was like, wow, this is sort of weird, but whatever, right? We're going for a test drive and he's driving the car like a grandma, right? I was thinking, this is a sports car. At least get
Yeah.
on it.
Test it a little bit, right?
Exactly, right? Like I want you to test the goods before you buy the car, right? And then, he's driving. He was really uh polite and everything. And then I just asked him, I said, what are you doing to afford this car? And then he just sort of looked, he's driving, he looks at me. I sell drugs, Andy. And I just looked at it, I was like, oh my God, I am going to get carjacked, right? So I must have had that look on my face. And then he said, no, Andy, I'm joking. I sell nutritional supplements, right? So it was really funny because, of course, that was my first experience into MLM, multi-level marketing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I was sort of intrigued. He was talking about these supplements. And then later on, he was saying, well, he bought my car, so he's happy. And then now he's trying to sell me his supplements, right? So during this time already, I was telling him, hey, look, I have all these problems. Here's all my drugs. I can barely get out of bed. And he says, Andy, I can fix you. And I was like, whatever at that point, right? So we schedule another call at
Yeah.
Starbucks. And he's doing his whole spiel, right? He's saying this is this and this is this, and me and Minna sitting there, and Minna's giving me the laser beam eyes, like let's get out of here, right? And then the kid said one magical word. He says, Andy, there's a 30-day money back guarantee. So like already there is like I've been sitting there for a whole hour with his whole presentation and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I said, look, just sell me everything. I'm just gonna buy everything, right? In my mind, I was gonna get my money back, but I wanted to keep the kid happy, get him off my back, and just get out because we've been sitting there for an hour. And that was my first experience into nutrition because it was something very different because 2 weeks taking one of the supplements, I was getting out of bed. And a lot of people didn't know this because, I always put a brave front. I never show people my pain. Right. But, back in the day, for like 10 years to get out of bed, I literally roll off the bed because I cannot be like normal people swing your foot off the bed and
Mm-hmm.
stand up, squat up. I couldn't do that. I was in so much back pain. I literally roll off the bed and then push myself up take a
Yeah.
shower, and then pop my pain meds and stuff like that. Right? 2 weeks in on the supplements, I turned them in, like in bed, and I said, "Baby, something's wrong." And the last time I said that, I had a kidney stone, and we need to go to emergency. So already she's getting out of bed. Hold on, hold
Oh
on, hold on. Like, she's already in that caretaker mode, right? And then I said, "No, check this out." I swung my foot off the bed and I stood up, and it's sort of like, what the hell? I can't even remember the last time I did that. Remember, I'm only 43. Like, this is something that we all take for granted that you
no.
can do,
Yeah.
right? And back then, 43, I thought I was old, right? But to be able to do this, and I wasn't able to do this easily, I swear for probably 5 to 6 years, I was not able to do that. And then she looked at me and I looked at her. I was like, what the hell is in these supplements? Right? It's like, because I have been taking drugs, I have been taking
Yeah.
supplements because I've been listening to all the
Yep.
information out there, right? And that's what really got me into the rabbit hole. There's something different about the supplements. I went to the company, I did the full tour to figure out what was different, talking to the scientist, talking to the founder. And, this is not about promoting that supplement. If people want to find out, they can reach out to me. That's not what it's about. But it was really a aha moment that, you know, the scientists and the founders saying, it worked because your body was lacking in something that was lacking for so long.
Yeah.
And once you got it, your body starts repairing itself. So from that point on, I dove into the rabbit hole. I got my functional nutrition certification. I got my personal training certification. I got all sorts of certification trying to find out everything that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I studied, the more there's more information that contradicts each other.
Yes. So
So
much. Like it just
it's
depends
so
on which guru you find or which science.
exactly.
Like, and then what's really crazy is the amount of scientific studies. And you can find
Yes.
one that states what you want it to, but then you can find
Hmm.
another one that states completely different. It's to the point to where
Exactly.
like I try not to Google and go down the rabbit hole anymore
Exactly.
because you can find anything that you want out there to prove your
Mhm.
point. Like everybody has done some type of study somewhere
Yes.
to make you right.
Exactly. And I love that you brought that up because that was a problem I was running into, right? So, I call myself a biohacker also because at this point it's like, well, the only way to know this stuff works is you're gonna have to try it, right? Because a lot of people they'll
Very
talk
true.
about stuff, but they don't actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like, I tried different products, different protocols and stuff like that. And some things work really well. Some things not so well, let's put it that way. But like over the last 13, 14 years now, like what I've been doing is I've been tightening up the protocols, figuring what works, what the body needs, what the body needs to get rid of. A lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people just
Mm.
think about, oh, we just need to keep feeding the body and moving.
Yep.
But it's just as important to get rid of all the crap that was in your body too. And remember, I had about 23 years of crap that was being put inside my body. And that doesn't just go away. Some people just think, oh, once you start eating healthy, it goes away. No, you need to detox all this stuff out of your body over
Yeah.
time. And there are different protocols. And those are like the protocols that I've been learning over the last 5 to 7 years. So now I'm very big not only on what you eat and exercise, of course, that's important, but I'm more concentrating and educating people on the importance of detox, right? We got heavy metals, we got all these chemicals from the fertilizers, and we got lead
Yeah.
in the water, we got fluoride. Like there's so many things attacking us that we're unaware of that we think are safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and then at the same time is it keeps coming back to that very first time I met that scientist at the nutritional facility. He says your body's got the ability to heal itself when it's supported, right? So that's what I'm really into now. It's like the more I look into it, there are different modalities that can boost your mitochondria for better cellular health. There are ways to detox to boost your liver, your
Mm-hmm.
detox organs. And even now with more and more modalities, there are ways to stimulate your body to create stem cells. And those are like basically your master cells that can actually help you not only repair damage, but actually make you younger. right? So that's what
Yes.
I'm really excited about, and that's why I call myself a longevity expert, because that's basically what I'm certified in functional nutrition, but I call myself a longevity expert because over the last 15 years that I've been doing this now is like these are all the things I learned. And rather than keeping to myself, my mission, is this year I put a new mission, a new vision is that I want to help 1 million people around the world to be educated on what they can do to improve their health and start reversing all the chronic conditions they have. Because that's what, that's what we're ingrained to believe as we get older, we get sick. And I don't
Yep.
believe in that now. Like I'm 55 this year. I am healthier now than when I was 30, right? So, I'm hoping that I can inspire people that, it's never too late to turn things around, right?
Yeah.
And always start talking to people that's done the journey rather than, like I said,
Yeah.
going to the rabbit hole and Google, TikTok,
Yeah.
Instagram. It's like, oh
All
my
the
gosh,
things. What I really
all
love
the
about
things.
everything that you're saying though is it you went to the experts that we're supposed to, right? That we're told to
Yep.
listen to. Nothing wrong with doctors. I'm from the medical
Yeah,
field
nothing
and
wrong with
they
them. I love my
definitely have
doctors.
their place.
Yes.
And you also learn to listen to your body, right? Because like you
Yes.
said, you tried the things, some worked, some didn't. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's something that we aren't taught enough is,
Yes.
what may work for one person might not work for you. It doesn't make that it mean that it's bad. It just
Exactly.
means that for whatever reason, your DNA or your body has a higher
Yep.
or a lower space of something. So that's not what you need. That's going to make you do better. And speaking of that, you talked about detox. I feel
Yes.
like this is like, especially coming into quarter four, everybody's getting ready for
Yes.
New Year's resolutions, right? Detox is going to be the thing, right? Exercising,
Yes.
going to the gym, and detoxing. But there are 10,000
Yeah.
different types of detoxes out there. And I
Mm-hmm.
am curious your intake on some of them because I know some of them it's like, and I used to even have some of them in one of the offices that I worked in. And, it was like taking all these supplements and you did like water and maple syrup and lemon juice for like 3 days. It was crazy. Um, and it was supposed to do all this stuff. But then you've got people that take it like to the extreme and they're like, well, I just go on this
Yes.
strict water diet. And I'm like,
Yes.
why are we completely depleting the body when we're trying to flush things out? Like, I get that you need to flush it, but I don't see, in my personal opinion, I see that when we deplete the body to the point of like absolutely nothing, right? Your body goes, well, I'm going to hold on to all of this for dear life because now you're not giving me anything that I need. So we're not going to
Correct.
detox any of that. So, what is your intake on detoxes and where people should be aware and things to maybe avoid or just be educated on?
Yes, I think when it comes to detoxes, first of all, I like what you said about everyone's being a individual. I'm always talking about everyone's about individual. Everyone is different. That is very
Mm-hmm.
important to realize, right? What works for one person may not work for another. And the other thing is, listening to the body is so important. Back in the day, whenever I was in a pain, I'll reach for the pain medication. If I had a
Mm-hmm.
fever, I'll reach for Tylenol, right? But I don't listen to why am I having a fever? Why am I having a pain? Right? And your body's really smart. There's this innate ability. If something's going on, it'll tell you. If your knee's hurting, well, something's causing chronic inflammation in the knee, right? Maybe you banged it, maybe you ate something wrong, but your body's always giving you signs. So when it comes to detox, like you said, there's 10,000 detoxes out there. And some of them I really believe in, but they can be dangerous depending on what type of conditions you have, per se.
Mm.
Right. So if you're generally healthy, um, I do like intermittent fasting, right?
Yes.
And I think intermittent fasting for most people doing a 12-hour intermittent fast, like meaning not eating anything for 12 hours, is not that difficult. And people always says that's so hard. I was saying, well, not really, because you're eating an 8-hour window, and when you're sleeping, you're probably sleeping for 8 of those hours of the 12
Yeah.
anyway. And you're just really extending 4 hours. It's really not that bad, right? So a lot of times for people that I say, if you want to just have a gentle detox, just to get your body the ability to take in the nutrients that you ate during the day and have the ability to try to get rid of the crap that you had during the day, like starting with a like that's just a normal fast. Like I think everyone should be doing that. A lot of people freak out, but I think everyone should be doing that. it's a matter of either skipping breakfast or moving breakfast to 12 o'clock. You still
Mm-hmm.
can eat the same amount of food,
Right.
right? If you have 3 meals, then eat 3 meals, right? But, if you wanted to go deeper, depending on what you are, and, as a functional nutritionist, I'm very big at looking at blood labs, right? When people go to a doctor, and this gets me all the time, and doctors say, "Oh yeah, my blood panels are perfect," or they say it's perfect for my size, perfect for my condition. I think there is no
Yep.
such thing. It's either perfect or bad. Like there's no perfect for your size, for your condition. So basically, the doctor's saying, "Well, having diabetes, these numbers are good." Right? But they don't teach you how the numbers should be better if you didn't have diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So a lot of times these blood panels will give an idea of, which areas that you are maybe lacking, right? Or not as strong. So you have to be a little bit more careful of that when you're doing detoxes, right? Because it can
Mm.
actually go down the wrong
Yeah.
direction. If you're going intermittent fasting and you're so dependent on sugar and your body doesn't know how to burn fat for fuel, it can tank and you can faint. You can have heart. It can be pretty bad if your blood sugar tanks, right? So once again, it is listening to your body and looking at the metrics. But simple ways for detox that I find work really well for people is I'm sure you heard of the apple cider vinegar lemon juice hack, which is
Yes.
very easy to do.
I've not tried
Very
this,
easy.
but I've heard of this.
Yeah. So it's very easy to do first thing in the morning, is, a cup of water, pour a little bit of lemon juice and we squeeze, fresh organic lemons into a little bottle. So it's easy. So you don't have to squeeze it, but it's about half a lemon, right? And then like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and then actually a pinch of cayenne pepper if you have it.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's not pleasant to drink, I'll be honest.
I appreciate the honesty, Andy.
But you will start really noticing that apple cider vinegar actually helps stabilize your blood sugar. So for a lot of people that are pre-diabetic or diabetic, you can start actually seeing your blood sugar stabilize over the next 2, 3 hours. So that's a good thing for that. But then, with the lemon, you're boosting antioxidants, right? Yeah, and the apple cider vinegar actually helps with gut health. And then the cayenne actually stimulates your immune system. So right off the bat, first thing in the morning, you're stimulating your body. Say, I'm awake because after you drink that, it's so horrible. You're awake. I definitely. But you will start noticing a lot of people have a lot more energies just from that right off the bat. And that is a very, very simple detox to do. Right. And then, other detox, once you want to go a little bit further down the biohack route, like I said, there's extended intermittent fasting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. It's sort of like what you said. A lot of people say, well, if I stop eating, my body is going to eat away my body. As in, well, that is sort of true. But it is actually a good thing because if you're not eating after the first day, your body's going to grab whatever sugar you have stored, whatever glucose you have stored in your liver and your muscles,
Yep.
right? And once it's gone, it's gonna freak out. It's like, I'm hungry. What the hell am I gonna eat now? Right? And what people don't realize is like, I don't care how fit you are, right? Because some people say, oh, I'm so fit, I don't have fat. You still have at least 6 to 8% fat, like for the crazy athletes out there. But for on average, men, average men probably have anywhere from 15 to 20% fat, and women's probably got like 20 to 35% fat.
Mm-hmm.
So you got plenty of, you will not die. Like seriously, you're not die. Your body is smart enough to say, "Well, I got nothing to eat. Oh, there's fat here. Let's start munching away on that." Right? And for some people, it does take a little longer. But once you get into your body eating fat or what they call ketosis, you don't feel tired anymore because now your body has,
Mm-hmm.
checked into a different fuel source. So, I think it's always a good idea once you figure out how to do a 12-hour intermittent fasting to maybe do a 24-hour fasting. That's only one day not eating anything. Maybe once every 2 weeks. I think that's not too hard. And, as a daily thing to do. And if you have underlying conditions, try to extend that to 48 hours and then 72 hours because 48 hours is where, your body goes into autophagy, meaning it starts eating all the bad stuff, right? Like we have bad cells that or bad
Mm.
cell parts. It starts
Okay.
eating, and that's what you don't want, right? Because that's what causes cancer, that's what causes you to age. And like you said, it's stuff that your body recognized we don't need this anymore. So we're just going to break it down and eat it, essentially, right? But the magical thing is at 48 hours, that's when your gut lining starts getting new stem cells and starts repairing your gut. So there are so many people that have gut problems, occasionally doing even just a 2 day water fast can really repair the gut again. So to me, I think that's a good way. There's also studies doing extended. I never tell people to do that because it's sort of dangerous, right? You have to monitor your blood sugar, your blood pressure, and
Yeah.
everything. Everyone's different. And then last one I would suggest is just hot cold therapy. You probably hear about like the cold plunges, like the
Yep.
infrared saunas and stuff like that. And that's another great way to detox your body, right? And to get your body to be hyper vigilant to repair itself.
You're also teaching it to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. I
Yes.
was I was watching anyway, it doesn't matter. I was watching this thing and they were talking about different things in your health and the reasons why we as human beings have such hesitation in a lot of things that we do. And it's because we have put ourselves in climates and in situations where we can be completely and totally comfortable, right? We don't have to
Yes.
warm ourselves up. We don't have to cool ourselves down. Our houses are exactly where we want it to be. And so we are not used to having to utilize those functions like our
Hmm.
ancestors did. And they were
Yes.
talking about how that actually causes a lot of issues. And by doing, like you said, like the cold plunges, it can help with
Hmm.
anxiety. Saunas, I just realized which I'm a sauna fan, but I just
Yes.
realized like how amazing saunas are just for your cardiovascular system
Oh,
and
huge.
the things that it can help with decreasing and heart disease and like all
Yep.
these different things. And but what you're doing is you're literally putting yourself in an environment where your body has to defend itself and choose
Hmm.
how it's going to regulate. And it really is interesting to learn how good that actually is for you versus what we as a society have been taught, which is be in this comfortable space. And it really is interesting to see when you put yourself in certain forms of this, even for a couple of minutes, how it shifts the way that your brain starts paying attention to things, and then how it can start activating and changing things within the body, which actually are phenomenal for you when it comes to longevity.
I love how you put it, because a lot of people don't realize is if your body's too comfortable, it's lazy. And when I'm saying lazy, not lazy as not wanting getting around, but lazy as in repairing itself. So
Hmm.
it's sort of funny, like you said, getting into cold plunge or even getting into the hot sauna. For most people, maybe that what first time you do it, 1 minute seems like a freakishly long time, I tell you. Right? Right? Like the first time, like
Yes.
we have our own cold plunge, and the first time I hopped in there, and then I got out in minutes. You weren't even in there for a minute, man. It felt like 10 minutes. Right? So, but as your body becomes uncomfortable, your body starts shaking, but the things you realize is you need to concentrate on something else while you're in those uncomfortable positions, because when your
Hmm.
body's uncomfortable, that's when it actually grows. Right. That's when you're going to become more resilient. We want our bodies to be resilient to disease, resilient to aging, resilient to aging. Right. And all these uncomfortable things is what makes it resilient. So it's like even when I'm doing my cold plunges now, I'm in there for 10 minutes. And back in the day, I'm trying to breathe it, just to try to stay warm. But now I throw on a meditation app, and now
Hmm.
your brain is concentrating on the meditation. You don't even like it's still cold. Don't get me wrong. Like it's cold. Like my water's like 50 degrees. It's cold, right? And but you get to the point now you're not only getting your body more resilient, but you're getting your mind more resilient. So a
Hmm.
lot of things what you're talking about, I love because what I like to call as like biohacking stacking, like stacking biohacks. So here you are, you're improving your brain health, you're improving your cardiovascular, you're improving your body's immune system, right? And from the hot to the cold, like right on my hot cold plunge, I jump into my infrared sauna for another 15 minutes. It's almost like baking a potato. You freeze a potato and then bake it. And it's sort of interesting what your body does because that thermal shock, it just gets it into that
Hmm.
mode. And I tell you, you become so much more resilient because if you look at the people that are in cold environments, like the Eskimos and that, these guys are super healthy. But here you are.
Yes.
It's funny. I come from originally Vancouver, right? And Vancouver, Canada gets pretty cold. But I'm in Houston now, and Houston's
Oh,
freakishly hot, right?
that's
Like
like,
freakishly hot. But it's funny. It's starting to cool down a little bit now, right? And when I'm saying cool down, it's still like 70 to 80s, okay? Like, but in Houston, in Texas terms, that's cold. And here I am. I'm wearing shorts. I'm wearing a tank top. I'm walking around, and you see people already bundled up in jumpers. And I'm looking, it's 75 degrees. Or he's like, I don't put on a jumper until it's like 50 or 45, So that's how resilient your body is. But their body isn't resilient. So, like you said, they're comfortable in that range of temperature that they need to be in.
hmm.
But at the same time, when you're that comfortable, you injure yourself easier. You get sick easier. Your body's just not resilient to anything that you're exposed to.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the cold plunge and the saunas. Like I've done a lot of looking into that, and I I am not a fan of the cold. But it makes sense, and it's really funny too. Like I was doing some research and I was watching about a scientist that was talking about this and kind of explaining the differences and how deep that it goes. And
Hmm.
he was saying that you can literally start with putting yourself like when you take your shower, right? The
Yes.
last like 30 seconds, just turning it to as cold as you can handle, right?
Hmm.
To start out. Like that's all you have
Yes.
to do versus, what, because cold plunge has become like a huge thing, right? And there's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people that are like putting ice cubes in it and taking it.
Yep.
And what I have learned, and please tell me if you've got any differences, is it doesn't have to be 30 degrees for it to
No,
actually
it
do
does not.
something for you. Like you said, 60, 55, 50-ish is
Yeah.
actually really great, especially for women, which are
Yes.
completely different than how men can handle cold plunges. And then you
Correct.
get women that are in perimenopause, menopause,
Yes.
postmenopause, and we actually cannot deal with those extreme colds as well
Cold.
as we did
Exactly.
before. And so for it to
Yes.
be beneficial for us, it is kind of at that 50-ish range, which is
Hmm.
still cold. Like I don't care how
Yeah.
hot it is outside. That's still cold. That's
Yeah.
walking in a river, which funny enough, my husband and I do every Sunday now.
No
There's
kidding.
a
I love
stream.
that.
Yes, there's a stream that's I don't know, 10 minutes down the road from us. It's a pretty little
Yeah.
greenway walking trail. And we found this little area that like nobody is ever at. And it's like ankle to knee deep in some areas. And so we
Correct.
literally go out there on Sunday mornings with our coffee and take our shoes off and walk through the river and sit on the rocks and just, I mean, be in nature and get away from the
Correct.
electronics and everything, but you're
Yes.
still doing that cold and
Yeah.
kind of reconnecting back to yourself. And I think that that's the one of the biggest things for any type of like biohacking or
Yes.
doing better with your body is how are you coming back to you and are you listening to
Mhm.
the signs that your body is giving because we're
Yes.
we're so stuck in an external world and trying to do
Correct.
it the way everybody else says that we're not listening when our body is like, hello, I am trying to
Yes.
tell you what to do. And then we're like, God, I have this knee pain and this back pain, I don't know where it
Correct.
came from. And it's like your body is literally screaming at you,
Yeah.
but it's also understanding that just because one expert says this is what you should be eating and this is what you should be
Hmm.
doing doesn't necessarily mean that that's what works for you. So can you talk a little bit on the importance of understanding like yourself on that level and how that works with different supplements that people take? 'Cause, everybody is like, "Oh, take vitamin D and take vitamin C and take your zinc and your magnesium." Time out. Like I'm all for all the supplements
Correct.
and how does that work in that world? Because we're thrown into 10,000 different supplements, and a lot of them have
Yes.
a lot of crap in them to begin with
Hmm.
that aren't
Yes.
good for you.
Agreed.
And at the same time, it may not also work for you either.
Exactly. That is so true. And that's a loaded question, Kat. That could be like an hour
It's a
by
whole
itself.
conversation, right?
Right. But I'm gonna try to simplify it because
Okay.
it's very interesting because when people ask me, Andy, what's the best diet? And I'll say
Mm,
all of them. I'll say all of them. Right. And then they'll just look at me, what the hell are you talking about? All of them. I said, well, they will all work if you balance it out because every single
mm,
diet is missing certain things.
yeah.
Right. And if you fill in those gaps, right, then every diet will work for you. Right. Like, like right now, there's a lot of big trend going to vegans and
Oh,
vegetarian, right? On
yes.
one side, like on the plant side.
And
And
then there's
and then there's a
the
whole
other side.
carnivore side, right, where you're not
Yes.
eating any vegetables or no fruits. And to be honest, I'm sort of right in between the two. right? Because I see there's gaps in both. Because like if you're talking about full vegan and vegetarian, the problem is most people don't do it as a whole food diet because they miss the pizzas, they miss the burgers, right? So now they're buying all this artificial crap that's labeled vegan,
Yep.
gluten-free, and stuff like that because they miss that burger, they miss that pizza.
Very true.
And it's like, oh, but it's made out of cauliflower, it's made out of cauliflower. And I was like, you go home, whip up a cauliflower and see if you can make your own pizza. Because if you cannot make it, it's all chemicals that puts it together. Like people don't realize
Yeah.
that, right? You're literally eating chemicals when you're eating all these pre-made things, right? So I think that's the biggest mistake that a lot of people do, no matter which diet they're going, eating like gluten-free, they're buying all these gluten-free cookies, cupcakes. Like, I went for
Yep.
an event and my friend was vegan and gluten-free, and they went to Target to buy some snacks and they came back with like chips and yeah, and crackers, but it's all gluten-free. I was thinking, but this is all garbage. This is not food. There's no nutritional value in it,
Yeah.
but it technically labeled as vegan and gluten-free, right?
They put
So,
in the fillers to make up for the things that are not there.
exactly,
Just like
exactly. And
sugar-free. Sorry, everybody.
no,
Very
it's so
sugar-free
true.
stuff,
But like
but
even it's funny because you talk about sugar free and of course, not getting political. They're saying trying to get the sugar out of the soft drinks and stuff like that. But they're trying to keep it sweet. So now you got artificial sweeteners, which is actually worse than sugar.
yeah.
So I tell people you're better off drinking sugar because at least your body recognizes it as sugar and know what to do with it,
Yeah.
right? Like when your body does not recognize something, doesn't matter if it's a chemical, it's a fake sugar, it stores it into fat because that's your body's way of protecting itself. So here you are thinking low calorie, no sugar, you can get skinny, and yet you're getting
Yep.
fat. And it's like, why is that? It's well because your body's protecting you, storing all these chemicals in your fat, right? But I think that's the biggest problem. And of course, carnivore, if you're not eating vegetables and fruits, you have no fiber. So they'll tell you, oh, it's normal to have bowel movements once a week. I said, no, it's not normal to have bowel movements once a
No.
week. That
No.
is your natural detox, right? If you're not doing, bowel
Yeah.
movements once a day minimum, you already have a problem, let alone once a
Yeah.
week, right? And then, of
I
course,
couldn't
now they're teaching
imagine
like
that.
fiber supplements and stuff like that. And I was like, well, that's stupid, right? Like, excuse me, I'm not calling your audience stupid, but I'm just saying that, you know, if you're going to do any of these things, try to go the whole food route for sure.
Hmm.
And then, you talk about supplements and with the things that are missing, you will need to take supplements, right? Because it's interesting. Like for me, Minna, we eat freakishly a lot of eggs. We eat like 4 to 6 eggs a day per person. So we go through a
Nice.
dozen in a day and a half, right? And people say, oh, that's gonna mess up your cholesterol and give you a heart attack. And my cholesterol is beautiful,
Mm.
but the beauty of the egg is like you eat that egg, you got all the amino acids that your body needs, like right there, everything your body needs to repair itself. But if you're
Yeah.
eating vegetarian or vegan, you're missing certain amino acids. And you can eat it by eating across the rainbow of all the fruits and vegetables. But once again, there's going to be certain things that you hate eating. Like spirulina is great. You can get everything spirulina, but you're not going to put that in your smoothie. You're not going to be eating kelp or seaweed, which is great
Oh,
too. But stuff's nasty, right? you know,
yeah.
but if you're not eating
Kelsey.
it, now you have holes in your diet, right? So
Yeah.
I think, whatever you're eating, first of all, you need to figure out what is lacking in that diet. And a lot of times, look for someone that's a nutritionist, functional nutritionist, right? So they can
Hmm.
figure out what's missing. And then, like I said, you're either going to have to try to supplement with something to plug that in, whole food preferably. If not, then you're going to have to get supplements. And then, like, the supplements is another rabbit hole. You just have to find a really good brand that has like third
Yes.
party testing and everything, not just because you saw it being advertised on YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah, I think that that's a huge one. And what's really interesting, speaking of the supplements, I literally just saw some random person that popped up on my Instagram page and he was talking about supplements and being aware of certain things. And he actually like dove down the rabbit hole of some of your larger scale supplements that you can
Hmm.
find at like every grocery store. Not
Yeah.
going to name them. You guys can go look it
Yes.
up. And he was talking about how like they're all connected to big pharma companies.
Yes.
He's like, so if you think about that, and this was something that I went down the rabbit hole one time, was learning about like how certain things are connected to
Hmm.
these big pharmaceutical companies. And I'm like, well,
Yes.
they already want us to take all their medicines anyway. There is absolutely
Yeah.
zero chance that what they are trying to give me in a supplement or something
Hmm.
that's good for me is actually good for me because that would take down their profits. Sorry, people, but it is what it
Exactly.
is. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I learned about Roundup, which
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, that we know that Roundup's bad and everything like
Yeah.
that. But what I didn't know was how connected they were in some of the supplements and the other
Yes.
things that we do. And one of the things that they have on every picture of their Roundup is dandelions
Yeah.
and how horrible it is. And we've just taught it's a weed. And I'm like,
Yes.
man, do you know how many things dandelions are good for?
It's
Like, and
one of
we're
the
trying
best
to get rid of
detox
it.
herbs out there, like literally.
Yes. And we're over here trying to get rid of it because we have been
Yeah.
taught that
Yeah.
weeds are bad. You know, you don't want that in your
Exactly.
yard because your yard's not pretty. But like if you just saying, you guys, you ever want to go down the rabbit hole one evening and you're just bored, like start Googling some of the
Yeah.
stuff and look to see who is connected to what because it is insane who actually owns who and
Yeah.
where your stuff is coming from. And then you're like, holy crap. Like, there's no way that they're doing good for me when they make their money doing this. So it's like
Yes.
all this, I hate to say it, but like propaganda that's being sold to us so
Hmm.
that we aren't as healthy and we listen to the experts and then we
Yes.
go to their supplements or their pharmaceuticals, you know, like you said, you're on all those pain meds and all those
Yeah.
things because even doctors aren't taught the natural way to deal with things. And
Not at
don't get me
all.
wrong, there are some
Yeah.
drugs that are needed to help with
Yes.
certain things. So not all, you know, things are bad. And it's so easy for a doctor nowadays to be like, oh, you're in pain, here's a prescription. Oh, you're having
Exactly.
migraines, here's a prescription. There's no root of the cause conversation, and that is really harming us as a society and making other people very rich.
Yes.
My two
Yes.
cents.
No, I love your 2 cents, and just a little addition to that, big pharma
Yes.
and big food, they're married. So there is no incentive for them to give you anything nutritional in any prepackaged foods. And a lot of times if you dig deep enough, it's only two or three companies that own everything altogether
Mm,
anyway. Right. So once
yeah.
again, it's like all that food, everything is stripped, and then they throw the nutrients back in. But now these are all chemical nutrients. They're not actual nutrients, right?
Yeah.
So that's really big. But like in the last 2, 3 years, I dove a little further as just looking, like I said, the natural ways to get your body to stimulate stem cells, right?
Hmm.
There's like the hyperbaric chamber, right? There's infrared therapy, there's post-electronic magnetic therapy. There's a lot of these therapies out there that shows it stimulates your stem cells and even like I said, I don't want to push any product, but even with the last couple of years, we found a phototherapy patch that uses your own light's energy, and we're all infrared light beings that can get your body to elevate your own peptides, right? Because like, a lot of people get them intravenously, right? Like through IVs and stuff like that.
Yes.
Because
Hmm.
like peptide injections and stuff, it's so huge now and
Yep.
crazy expensive. But that would be considered like exogenous peptides, right? You're getting an external source that get put it into your body. But the product that we're talking about, the CEO has found that using your own body's light energy, we can create these peptides endogenously, creating them naturally. And one of them is
Interesting.
elevating your GHKCU, and if you Google that, you can see this whole rabbit hole of all these benefits. But the biggest benefit is it reactivates dormant stem cells and activates new stem cells. So to me, that's sort of been a life changer as part of my protocol when I'm helping people, regardless if you're eating right, you're detoxing, you still need to try to support your body to be back to a younger state. And sometimes your body may be damaged so much like mine that just changing your lifestyle is not enough. You need that kickstart. You need something to give you
Hmm.
more stem cells. And stem cells are huge. It's like, a trigger word everywhere. People going to stem cell injections in Europe and Mexico.
Yes.
Right. But a lot of people don't realize, one, they're very expensive, right? Anywhere from 15 to $30,000 per treatment.
Yeah.
Two, what they don't tell you is you need more than one treatment, right? So already you're spending so much on one treatment, you probably need three or four before they start working. And in three, if you read the fine print, there's a 30% chance they will work. So once again, you could be spending anywhere from, if you're lucky, 15 to 30,000 in one shot, magical wonder it works for you. But you easily could be spending $100,000 for 30% chance it'll work. And that's why we're sort of excited using our own phototherapy to try to get it to create your own stem cells because they're your own stem
Yeah.
cells, 100% work all the time.
Yeah. And stem cells have definitely been, something that has come across um,
Yes.
my face, and it definitely is all over the place. And I had some patients of mine back when I was in the medical field,
Hmm.
and she actually did stem cell for her knee. She was
Hmm.
supposed to have a double knee
Yes.
replacement, and
Hmm.
it was back when stem cell was like brand new. And
Yes.
we talked a lot about it. She did a lot of research, and she went and did the
Hmm.
treatment, and she did not have to have knee replacement surgery.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
amazing at what it can do. But
Powerful.
again, like you said, it's being aware of what it is that's being offered, who is the one that's offering it, and making sure
Yes.
that you have other people, other experts like a functional nutritionist,
Yes.
someone who can give you that kind of third opinion to make sure you
Exactly.
know what you're getting yourself into. Because, like we talked about in the beginning, you can research everything to the ninth
Yes.
degree, and you're going to find some type of scientific evidence somewhere that someone
Hmm.
has published that is going to prove you right in whatever direction you want to go. So you have to be very,
Correct.
very aware of that. And to be honest, I don't want to try to be an expert in all that stuff. I think it's wonderful.
Yes.
I'd love to kind of go down the rabbit hole on some of it, but like I would prefer to have someone like you that has got my back, that I can be like, hey,
Yeah.
this sounds interesting. I'm kind of looking at this. What are your thoughts, right? And I think that that's
Correct.
the bigger thing, is like leaning on people that are the experts in things like this and being okay with asking those questions instead of feeling
Hmm.
like we as the individual have to be the expert, because then you get completely overwhelmed. Now you've got anxiety. Now you think you're going to die of cancer and you have 50,000 things going through your brain, and then you end up not doing anything. So you just
Yes.
continue in your same habit, right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
And it's so funny because it's like stress is the number one killer, and all this is just going to put you into stress, right? And a lot of people
yep,
don't realize stress does trigger chronic conditions too. So
yep,
definitely, it's like don't stress it and figure out yourself. Look for someone that's done the journey. And I think that's really important because they are the one that's doing all the research for you. And if you ask them questions, they'll show you where the research is, the good
yep.
ones anyway, right? I tell you, I follow so many experts and all I have to do is like ask one question. And when you don't have an answer, I don't push it, right? It's like I never
Hmm.
want to make someone feel bad about themselves. But right away, I already know that they're not expert in that space if there are certain questions they can't answer, right?
Yeah,
So in which case, that just means they're just repeating information from reading off Google or whoever's training them to
yep,
say it, right? You know what I'm saying? That's where the difference is. I think, especially in this time and age now, it is very important to ask questions, right?
yes,
Like ask why, why is this happening? What does this do? What does this not do? Right? You
yep,
know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people aren't asking the right questions. They're just trying to figure out, well, I have this pain or I got the skin condition. I want a silver bullet.
yep,
It takes years or decades for your body to develop these conditions. It's not going to be a silver bullet that's going to solve it in one shot, right? It's going to
yep.
take months to years to solve them, right? But if you solve it naturally, you're going to live much longer. You're not going to have all these side effects. You're not going to have all these crazy, weird diseases they're making new names for because it's not because you're getting old, right? I hear that all the time. It's stress and because you're getting old is normal. And I was like, no, it's not
Yep.
normal. Right.
Yeah.
So that's really what in a nutshell, what I do is I try to inspire people that yes, it's never too late. You can always turn your health around, but make sure you're working with someone that has done the journey, that's done the research, and can give you the answers. And if they can't give you the answers, I'm sure they can find someone that can.
100%. Oh, Andy, I could talk to you for hours like on this. We could go down so many
Uh,
rabbit holes. We
yes.
we just may have to do another one like in January, February, and kind of like
Yes.
pull people back in off their resolution start. But as we come to a close, tell
Yes.
everybody, how can they find you? How can they be in your world? And I know you have a freebie for everybody as well.
Yes, the best way to find me is chronicallyhealthylife.com. That's my main website. You'll be able to book a time. I give a 30-minute free consult just to see if we're a good fit to work together. But we also, one of the freebies that I have is if you go to longevity is the new L word, I actually put together like a short little biohack book that all the things that I do myself to improve your longevity, to detox, like all the crazy fun things we talked about is on this little mini book. And like it's such a short read. You can finish it in 3, 4 hours, right? So longevity's new L word. You can download the PDF. And if anyone reaches through you free, reaches out to you, I'll even send them a hard copy, for free, out of my
Oh,
pocket.
I
Sometimes for me, I
appreciate
just
that.
like being to flip through pages, like bookmark them, highlight
Yep.
them. It's different from a PDF, but like I said,
Yeah.
I'll offer this free, like a hard copy for anyone that reaches out to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Andy. I so appreciate that. And of course, everybody will have all that information in the show notes. It'll be super simple for you to click it, get right to the website, get that ebook, take the time. You have time to
Yes.
scroll through social media for hours. You have time to read through the ebook. And
Yes.
Andy, do you have anything that you would like to leave the audience with? Any last words?
Yeah, I think the last word I have is always be listening to your body
Mm,
and always be asking questions because I did not ask questions for 20 years. I blindly believe all the medical system says this is what you need for this is what you need for that. And I told you, like it took me like 3 to 5 years to repair what 20 years of damage have done, right? And listen to your body. It's like when you have symptoms, something's hurting, something's itchy. It's your body telling you something's wrong is not a bad thing, right? They're always
yeah.
giving you red alerts and find someone that can work with you to figure it out.
I love it. Thank you so much. To everybody else that's listening, I really hope that you took this conversation to heart. I know that, like I said, we're moving into the fourth quarter. Everybody's looking to make their New Year's resolutions. Everybody's wanting to do something different in the next year and the next year and the
Mhm.
next year after that. And it really is important that we get back to listening to ourselves as
Yes.
well. Being able to ask those questions, being able to tell the people that we're working with, our doctors and stuff, that I don't agree with that. I don't want to go down
Mhm.
that route. You have the ability to do that. And I don't think that we talk about that enough. So I hope that you guys go back and listen to this again, go get the ebook and decide to do things a little bit different in your 2026 and come back to yourself and kind of paying attention to that. And then, of course, reach out to Andy when you need that functional nutritionist and you need to have those questions answered because you're just not sure. Because it's not our job to be an expert in every area of our life. So until next time, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. Catch you later. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Chat with Kat today, where real stories meet real solutions. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, and share this with someone who may also need to hear this as well. Let's also keep the conversation going. Follow me on socials at The Lotus Effect, connect with our incredible guests, and remember, you are never alone. Your story matters, and you have the ability and the power to rewrite it. You always have a choice. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep showing up as the incredible, unstoppable